Hi, my name is Gary Stafford, and I work in the Career Center here at Missouri State University. And today, I'm going to be talking to you about job searching. When it comes to job searching, it's a good idea that you follow a process that will allow you to learn about yourself, understand different options you can pursue, and allow you to understand how the employers are thinking. The best way I think to do this is to number one, learn about yourself as much as possible. The more you know about yourself, the more you'll be able to apply the right characteristics to your documents and while you are speaking on your abilities during your interview. The other thing you want to do is you want to consider exploring all the career options that you have. The reason why it's a good idea to do this is because you want to make sure that you are pursuing the right career. Now, the next thing is important too. That is networking. You want to try to network as much as you can because in some cases, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in those cases, when it is who you know, a really robust network is going to help you connect to the right people so that you can get to the desired location. Now, when it comes to searching options, there's going to be a lot of ways that you can find out about positions, in which you'll learn about some of those very things today. But you want to make sure that you have some good resources because the better your resources, the more jobs you're going to learn about and the more jobs that you can apply to. And that's going to improve your chances of landing that position you really want to have. You'll also want to make sure that you are keeping records. It's a good idea to keep track of everything that you're doing so that you can always understand who you need to deal with, who you need to contact, what documents to use, etc., etc. And in doing that, you're really going to set yourself up to be really successful. Now, in concluding, it's a good idea to make sure that you're following up with those who you have made contact with. This is going to be a good idea because sometimes employment processes are processes where they are deciding on who they want to bring in for the position take a while, and you don't want to be forgotten in the shuffle. So keep up with those who are a part of the process by following up. And then the next thing is you want to make sure that you are persistent. Okay, job search processes are pretty daunting, and as I just mentioned, they can take a while. So therefore, it could be necessary that you have, or practice a lot of patience. But the most thing is be persistent. Don't give up. Always put forth your best effort towards this process. And if you do that, you'll increase your chances of finding the job that you want to obtain. So when it comes to learning more about who you are, there are a few things that you can do. Okay, now before I get into that, I want to kind of remind you or inform you on why learning who you are is so important. When you apply to a position, you will be asked to present yourself in two ways, both on paper and in person. Now, if what you have on paper is really good and it represents you well, that's going to improve your chances of getting to that next level where you get a chance to present yourself in person. Okay, so make sure that you know as much about your skills and abilities and experiences and how they relate to the job you want to obtain. That way you can speak about yourself in a way that hopefully will get a lot of attention. So how do you learn about yourself? You want to take career assessments. Okay, in the Career Center, we have a few assessments that you'll be able to take advantage of so that you can learn more about your personality interests, your personality traits and your preferences, and even learn more about your work values, what you really enjoy in an environment, in a work environment. Understanding all these things gives you just a little bit more information / criteria to use so that when you get to the interview room, you're not having to guess what it is that you want to talk about. Even more, when you're filling out your documents, your cover letter and your resume, it makes it a little bit easier to develop content to include. So in essence, the more you know about yourself and your abilities, the easier it'll be for you to perform at a high level when it comes to creating your resume, your cover letter, and in interviewing. So let's say that you've understood the process you need to participate in to find what you're looking for, and you were able to run a process where you learned about yourself. So now you have a good grasp on, your skills and abilities and experiences. Now you want to start exploring your different career options so that you can make a choice on what direction that you want to go into. So when you are exploring, here are some things you may want to consider. Number one, you want to think about the requirements of the career/the position that you want to get into. The reason why it's a good idea to take a look at these things is because there is a chance that that job/career may consist of some things that bode well for you, or it could be the opposite where they do not bode well for you. But you won't know unless you do some research. And let me tell you, it's going to be better to find that information out beforehand so that you can make a well-informed decision about the job that you could potentially have. A lot of times you may hear about people who get upset about their current work situation. And in most cases, it's because that particular job and its requirements are not lining up with who they are as a person. So the sooner you can get to that point to where you feel good about the direction you're getting into, the better your chances of being satisfied with what you do on a day-to-day basis. Now, in addition to understanding what the requirements of the career/the job are, you'll also want to learn as much information as you can about the industry that you're wanting to go into. The reason why this is important is because, again, you have to fit, or you have to have a good working knowledge of what you're getting into so you feel comfortable about the direction that you're going. So always make sure that you're researching your industry, understanding the trends, understanding the market, so that you know your opportunity is always going to be there. Now, in addition to understanding about the career requirements, career/job requirements, and the industry that you're going into, you'll also want to make sure that you're headed to the right geographical location. And the reason why that's important is because you want to make sure that wherever you go, you're comfortable with your living environment. Okay. And the last thing, every career/job is going to have, an outlook. More specifically, there's going to be some bit of information that informs you on how much that particular occupation is going to grow over a period of years. So when you are deciding on what career you want to get into, it's always a good idea to make sure that the job outlook for that particular profession is good. Okay, it'd be a bad idea to pursue a profession that in about a few years is going to be extinct. That's going to be bad for you. It's not going to allow you to be successful. Needless to say, in about 3 or 4 years, when that job may go extinct, you may be looking for something different. So if you can be really confident about the outcomes or the outlook of that career, then it'll help you with having a very prosperous career. So when it comes to finalizing your career decision, so let's say that you've looked at all the requirements, you like it, you understand what the industry is like, you can deal with it, you've picked your ideal location, and then the job outlook is good, so this career is only expected to grow. Now let's go and get a little bit more specific so that you can find out the intricacies about that particular job at that particular place, at a particular place. So what you do is consider participating in a job shadow experience, an informational interview, do more research and network. And the reason why it's important is because if you do a job shadow, that's actually going to give you an opportunity to be on site with that particular job, being hands-on with what that occupation does on a day-to-day basis. If you can get that, then that's great, okay? It's very telling, and it informs you a lot. In addition to that, you can do informational interviews, and basically what this is when you get a chance to speak with a representative who works in that environment, and as a result can tell you what it consists of. Now, the next thing is going to essentially be where you're doing research on the occupation, doing as much research as possible with the Bureau of Labor Statistics or My Next Move or any of those sites. And what those do is they inform you on what you can expect to be around on a day-to-day basis. And then the next thing is just networking. If you have a solid networking base, you can use that networking base to ask questions, to learn about the field, and essentially help you be more informed on everything that you need to know about to be successful. So it's going through those 3 slides there and have learned that it's important that you know who you are, you understand your skills, learn how to utilize the process. Now we're to the point to where we're essentially ready to start applying for jobs. Now, before you apply for these positions, you have to make sure that you prepare yourself in a way that will enhance your chances of success. And some of the things that I've learned over time and that enhance success is going to be you having a really good resume. Okay. In addition to having a really good resume, you have to have a good cover letter, good references, a professional message, a professional email, portfolios if necessary, thank you cards, and having good interviewing skills. Now, to elaborate on some of those key areas, resumes and cover letters are very important. Those 2 documents introduce you as an applicant to the place of work that you want to eventually be in. So it's a good idea that those documents are written in a way that, number 1, shows how you are relevant to the job you want to obtain. Number 2, proves that you have the ability and experience to do the job that's listed in the job description. So if you can cover those 2 points, then you're really going to put yourself in position to be successful with making it past that first round of the application process, which is submitting an application, resume, and cover letter, and then having it reviewed. And then from that review, the HR person feels good about inviting you in for an interview. Now, when it comes to creating your resume and your cover letter, there will be one other document that you'll want to attach to it, and that is going to be a references page. This references page should not be a part of the resume, but should be a part of the portfolio of documents that you turn in. And that portfolio of documents is going to be your cover letter, resume, and reference page. So essentially, that reference page is going to have the same heading as your resume, the same formatting, and the only difference is the type of information that you're going to include. The information that you will include is going to be some content on 3 individuals, well, I should say at least 3 individuals that can speak to your ability to do the things that you talked about in the resume, okay? Now, in addition to that, you'll want to make sure that your voicemail messages are very professional. So you don't want to have any music playing in the background or nothing fun. You just want to be very businesslike and professional because, in all honesty, this particular voicemail is going to have the chance to be the very first time that this employer interacts with you. So you want that good interaction to be the first thing that they recognize about you. So do a good job in creating a good voicemail message. You'll also want to have a professional email, and an example of a professional email could be the one that you have while you're here at Missouri State. And then for those of you who have done some research assignments or have done some assignments that they're really proud of and that prove your ability to do whatever job that you're trying to get into, you can use a portfolio and attach those documents within the portfolio. Okay, so if you were one who wanted to have a portfolio and you want to add some proof of your work, you would have your cover letter as the first document, followed by the resume, the reference page, and then your proofs of your work. Now, thank you cards, those are pretty self-explanatory. You just want to make sure that you have them. When it comes to thank you cards, there are two versions that you can use. You can choose to send them via email, or you can do the personal one. I think in today's time, the email thank you letters are very acceptable. I kind of like them because it allows you to get your letter to that particular HR individual really fast. And that is really good. So consider both options and you can decide on which one you want to use, okay? Now, when it comes to the practice interview bullet, the reason why that is a good idea is because when you get in front of these interviewers, you want to make sure that you are doing the best absolute job that you can. And having practiced will allow you to be in a position to do the best job that you actually can. So practice up as much as you have the ability to do so that when you get to that environment, you're familiar with it and you're not very nervous and you're able to do a good job. So now that you're ready to start presenting yourself to these employers, we have to find the jobs for you to apply to. And some of the best ways to do that are going to be through utilizing Handshake, which is the Career Center's job database. This particular database is really good, and it will provide you a lot of job leads. As a matter of fact, once you go into Handshake and you set up your account, you can opt to receive job leads from the system as it relates to your academic area. So that's a really neat feature, and it works really well. So I would encourage you to set that up so that you can learn about as many available opportunities as possible. Now, in addition to Handshake, you also have online job search engines. Now, there are some really specific ones, but there are some really good general ones as well. You have Indeed, you have Monster, you have Career Builder, and I think those are a couple others, but those three there that I just mentioned are your top online job search engines. And they list a lot of really good employment opportunities. Now, the thing is with those particular resources, a lot of people use them. So there's a chance that the jobs that you're looking at are going to be combed over by a lot of people. So this is what I recommend. Go to those sites, learn about what jobs work best, that fit you best, and then go to those websites specifically and look at those jobs and see if you can apply to them, learn more about them, and hopefully through doing that, it may improve your chances of being noticed. Now, when it comes to non-traditional search methods, there are three options that I think work really well. You have LinkedIn, you have your networking base, and then you have specific online job engines. So let me elaborate. When it comes to LinkedIn, this resource here allows you to connect with people who work within an environment that you want to get into. So because you can connect with them, you can talk to them, you can communicate with them, and through that communication, you may have an opportunity to learn about an opportunity and therefore apply for it and maybe get a job. So utilize LinkedIn as much as you can. Now, it has a whole bunch of other features, and I would implore you to explore them because it's just one of those systems that can improve your chances of getting where you want to go. And when it comes to networking, networking is important as well. The more people you know, the better your chances of those people understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And through those networks, they may talk to people, and what do you know? You might hear about an opportunity before it's even open. And if that happens, you get to apply for it, you can be the first person they consider, and that could really be towards your advantage. So network as much as you can. Essentially, LinkedIn is just a really big online networking tool. So the more you do that, the better your chances of getting where you want to go. Because you have to remember, sometimes it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. Now, the third thing here really is just referencing, specific online job search engines. Pretty much every industry, okay, every academic area, if you will, has a specific job search engine. Now, I can't sit here and ramble all of them off to you, but I can tell you how to find them. What you want to do is you want to go to Google, okay, and in the search box, put your particular academic area, search job search engine. Once you do that, all the engines are going to come up and you can pick one that works best for you and your job search needs, okay? Now, the last thing here is going to be talking about the hidden job market. And basically, the hidden job market helps you understand about positions that are not advertised to the general public. Some companies don't want to go through the process of listing jobs with the public because that can be pretty expensive. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are searching for the companies you want to be a part of and then applying for positions that you think you want to obtain. So when it comes to making that final decision on a job you want to obtain or to get or to apply for, if you will, these are some things you want to consider. And I know I have alluded to these things before, but I think you can't stress the importance of them because, liking a particular job is more than just the environment and the company that you're in. It's the whole entire environment that you're a part of, where you live, where you stay, the whole experience. All those things contribute to you being happy in the work environment. So it's a good idea that you understand the company as much as possible. So do research on the company through their website, through any information you can find online. That's just going to inform you and help you make a good decision if they are indeed going to offer you a chance to work there. Next, you'll want to understand as much as possible about the geographical location. And the reason why I say this is because if you really like the cold weather, then Alaska is going to be all right. But if you do not like the cold weather, Alaska is going to be horrible. So you got to make sure that you put yourself in the ideal geographic location, okay? Because what this is kind of gearing towards is you don't want to find yourself in a position where you become unhappy sooner rather than later, okay? Now, we would like to avoid unhappiness if we could, but at least you want to give yourself a really good chance of being successful wherever you go, all right? And then the next thing is you just want to make sure the culture that you're a part of is conducive to your success. So you've gone through these processes and now you've applied for a position and you're kind of just waiting to hear from some professionals that you've been trying to contact via your job search process. And because you'll be trying to connect with a lot of different people, it's a good idea that you are as organized as possible when it comes to this particular process. So make sure that you are keeping track of everything that you do. So what I'm going to do is kind of click on this tab here to kind of show you what I am referring to. I think it's a good idea that when you keep track of all that you're doing, that you do so in a similar fashion to what you see on the screen. What you see is not what you have to do, but you just want to make sure that you do some version of it. I mean, if you were to remember the person's name who you communicated with, the date that you applied for the position, and their contact information, that'd probably be good enough because at least if you have that, you can communicate with them when necessary. But what this information does, or what this job search organizer does, is it really just, allows you to be well informed about everything you're doing for every single job search process that you have implemented. So right now, this sheet is just not out in the public waiting for anybody to obtain. But if you contact me, Gary Stafford, at gstafford@missouristate.edu, I can get you a copy. Okay, give me just a second to get back to my presentation. Okay, so we've kind of went through the job search process and was able to learn a few things that will hopefully help you, get the ideal position. So you've applied, and now it's time to follow up. You'll want to do this probably like a week to 2 weeks after you apply for a position. All right, and this is a good idea because it just allows you to always be in the know, and it also helps an employer know that you are really interested in the opportunity. So contact employers to check on the process, okay? And when you do that, to start the conversation, kind of reiterate why you in this position is such a good mesh, okay? Remind them why you are the best person for that role, okay? And one last thing, just make sure that you're always connecting and with these employers and sending them thank you letters every time you speak to them, whether it be on the phone or whether it be at a career fair. Always help them understand that you are appreciative of their time. So when you're going through this process, it's always important to never have a give up attitude. As I mentioned before, resume processes are really tough at times, okay? They can definitely make things really hard. So it's a good idea that you always be positive, remain optimistic, okay? Always take a proactive approach, rely on good support, and just remember, it always takes time to get where you want to go, okay? So never give up, always hang in there and do what you got to do to get yourself to the next level. So in addition to some of those things that I just mentioned, you always want to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best position to be successful. And the best way to do that is to, by number one, attend career fairs and other career-related activities here at Missouri State University, sponsored by the Career Center, or even sponsored by your academic area. Network with employers and faculty members. Meet with your career resource specialist so we can have a talk with you and help walk you through this process, and maybe even help you connect with some people who will help you obtain your employment goals. Always browse, job tracks, which is Handshake. Always browse Handshake as much as possible. Schedule a practice interview with the Career Center. And the reason why this is important is because you always want to put yourself in position to do well in your interview. All right, so essentially, if you're wanting to come by the Career Center and talk about some of these things that I mentioned today, feel free to do so. You can come by the Carrington office, 309, or if you're a business student, you can go to the Glass Hall office, 276. Both of these locations are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And in addition, if you need help with your documents, your resume, feel free to come and meet with us virtually Friday, or I should say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 to 5, and Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 5. So I look forward to seeing you. Hey, it's been good working with you. I hope you learned some things today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anybody in the Career Center, and we'd be more than happy to help you out. Have a great rest of your day.